Hey everyone, I'm back finally with another video. Just looked at my YouTube channel, saw that I haven't uploaded for about a few weeks now, but I'm okay. Everything's going well. I've just been very busy with everything going on. A lot of stuff going on right now. Everything's good though. Really is. So today I'm going to do a little movie review for you guys. I recently finally got around to seeing The Shape of Water movie, the film that won the Best Picture Oscar last year, and won like 4 awards and won Best Picture, directed by Guillermo del Toro, and I thought it was pretty good. Um, I do agree with one reviewer, the reviewer Ramborath for Life. He's a movie reviewer. If you haven't heard of him, check him out. He's pretty good. I agree, disagree with some, but anyway, that's getting off topic. But um, he said I liked it, but I didn't love it too much. I kind of understand, and I kind of agree with him. I mean, it was different. I'll give it that. It was a very different type of film. You probably know the plot. A mentally disabled woman, although I don't know if she's mute, mentally disabled. I don't know, but and she discovers that the scientists. This is 1962, by the way. Scientists are holding a humanoid fish creature, and he's obviously not being treated well. So she basically kind of falls in love with him, and he kind of does the same with her. And there's a lot of bizarre scenes in the film, which are well done, though. It's just very different. And I thought the plot was interesting, the acting was really good, and I thought the actors did a good job. Octavia Spencer did good. The lady that portrayed Michael Shannon, I think, did well. A couple of the guy with the mute woman did pretty well too. And I'll have to check them. I forget their names, but I forget the actors. But overall, and the humanoid fish man, I'll have to admit that they did pretty good with his effects. It was actually practical effects, I believe, if you want to call it that, because it was actually a guy wearing a wet fish suit. Ugh, imagine how hot it must have got. How even in the behind the scenes, he said like how he feels heavier, felt a lot heavier wearing it in the water. But to give him props for doing that. And I thought the effects with the blue stuff and the effects, and it did some CG with him, and I'll admit that was pretty well done, pretty cool what he can do. I won't spoil what he does towards the end, but I'll admit it was kind of surprising. I was surprised by that. Although I won't give it away, but the ending in a way kind of reminded me of the ending of the film the Splash, the mermaid film with Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah. If you've seen Splash, you probably know how it ends. I'll admit this ending of this film, I don't want to say he copied it directly, but I can kind of tell Del Toro was probably got some inspiration from the ending of Splash. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just think it was felt a copy. I don't know, maybe a little nitpick I have against it, but I thought the ending. I said I hoped it wouldn't end on a down note because the way it was going in the last 5 minutes, I'm like, oh no, this is gonna end terribly, and it looked like it was gonna end terribly, but thankfully it kind of turned around and things worked out in the end. It seemed. Another thing I did like, I liked how it was 1962, and there was little hints of like racism of that time, and like there's one part when the woman's watching a TV, and it shows during the protest, it shows African Americans getting hosed. Probably know that was a thing, horrible thing that happened back then to them when they were protesting, I believe. And the guy that's with her says, "Oh, change the channel. I don't want to deal with that." Basically, I got just that he obviously doesn't care how they're being mistreated. I mean, the guy's a nice guy, but I could just tell there was a little bit of prejudice there they made with him, which I meant was interesting. And then there's another part when he goes to this diner, and he sits next to the guy, and he sees African American couple walk in, the owner of the diner bar, I forget what it's called, and he says, "No, I don't want you here." At first, I thought he didn't want them. At first, I thought he didn't want them sitting at the bar. He said like, "Oh, that's takeout only" or something. But actually, watching it again, he actually I don't think wanted them in at all, and definitely discriminatory. Although I don't think there was really any laws back then. I mean, that was before the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Act. That was 64, 65, I believe. I was getting mixed up. But anyway, so that was a little, showed the racism of the time. Him not wanting the African American couple basically in the restaurant. I mean, I don't know if he said you could sit there. He basically was getting at that he didn't really want them in at all, I believe. And it also had, there was references to the 60s stuff, references to the moon landing, how Russia got there before us. And it had some clips of President John F. Kennedy during that time, because 62 he was president still before his assassination the following year. Anyway, so I liked how they showed during the space program, the Cold War, because there was mentions that when something happens, they think it might have been the Soviets. I think so. There was a lot of 60s references, which I thought was pretty cool, and just it's really a time capsule. I like this film's really like a. That was probably the intent. Time capsule of the early 60s. How you see like the old cars, the old style houses they had, and the effects. Oh man, the effects were pretty well done. I'll admit, with the water effects. There's a lot of just real artistic. And the behind the scenes, they said how Del Toro was really artistic with this film, and I can see why. So. And I'll admit, yeah, there's just and they said it kind of reminded me of his 2006 film, which was really good. That Pan's Labyrinth had a lot of those amazing effects, amazing story too. That's in the review for another time. That was a really great film, and they said basically this was him, kind of like the film. But what am I getting at? I'm going off topic about Pan's Labyrinth, but I really liked though. How, and then also in the behind the scenes they say how the Michael Shannon's character, he does a really good. I mean, he's like a real sadistic evil person. He is, and I love like in the behind the scenes they say how the fish monster isn't really a monster. Shannon's character basically is more of a monster than he is, and I thought that was pretty cool symbolism. I thought. And another thing, even the mute girl and Spencer's character, for that time, I believe women didn't really have, I mean, you see all the men, they have all like these higher up positions, and the women are just basically, from what I saw, please correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not trying, trying to go against anyone or putting down anyone, but I think that was even for the time, early 60s, women didn't really work. Well, some did work, I will say that. But I don't believe a lot of them had those real high up jobs, I don't think. So they were basically cleaning ladies. I don't want to that was I guess the stereotype they used back then, but that was interesting how it just showed and how they really, I don't think, were treated the best either in the film, just showing, before women really got higher up positions, they were stuck with those types of jobs. So overall, just really like a lot of the historical callbacks to that time, how, just showing how a lot of it was just messed up looking back. And, what else was I going to get at? The score I thought was pretty good by Alexandre Desplat. And I thought his score with the style sounded pretty cool. With the even behind the scenes, they said the water, how it fit with the style of the water in a way, if you want to say that. Um, it's pretty cool. Although there's one part, Nick, there was one part where they she's with they bring they she's with the fish monster, if you want to call it that, in the bathroom. She fills up the water with so she can swim with him, I guess. And I'm surprised the water it just leaks through the roof a bit, and it angers the guy. Goes like, "Oh, your water's leaking," and the guy lies because the other guy apparently knows about it. And goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I must have a broken pipe." But I'm surprised the water just slowly seeps through. I thought I don't know if that's that possible to fill up a whole room with that. Like, wouldn't it go under the way more would go under, or wouldn't it break through the floor more than it did, especially for back then? I don't know. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I just thought that was a little odd. And another thing, there's a lot of like, there's like some like I'm not really bothered by it. There's definitely some nudity in the film, so just it's a lot of like even graphic, and even the rating R it says for violence, language, graphic nudity. Violence was it wasn't that bad. Like there was a couple like shooting scenes and a couple beat up scenes. And for the language, there was a few F words, but just saying if you're offended by any of this, just be forewarned. Some graphic nudity, frontal definitely. There's some sexual little references. If you just telling you forewarned if you're gonna see it, so just trying to warn you of the content advisory in the film. But and then it also and then also even from it felt like an adult version of Little Mermaid in a way, except obviously reverse male female reversed, but more adult version of it definitely. Although Ariel wasn't really or even though from Splash wasn't really a humanoid fish like this one was, but still you can probably get what I'm getting at. So overall, I'm just rambling now, I guess. Sorry, but overall, I thought the film was well directed, well acted, well told. Especially did a good job at showing the early '60s life, and it was overall definitely a good film. And I could definitely see why it won the Oscars. It did, won the Best Picture, Best Director. I think Del Toro did too, and a couple other for effects. I think a couple other effects Oscars it won. I think, but I don't, overall, I did like it. I mean, masterpiece, people call it. I wouldn't really call it that. I would just call it a very great film. So, overall, yeah, if you want to see it, go ahead. I mean, I recommend seeing it. It's pretty, it's different. Just, it's very different, but it's well done at the same time. Okay. So, that's about it, I guess. See you guys later. Bye.